how can I get my best players the ball? Not what plays I like. Who are my guys? How can I get it to them over and over and over again?
Former scout Bucky Brooks, former player. Okay, so this is my Viking thing. If you put the I could be totally wrong on this, but if you put the Vikings roster up, and you scouts are like A players, B players, weakest guys, C players. Everybody's got some C players. There's a third corner you're trying to hide.
Absolutely.
There's a safety that's not good against the run. There's a left guard that's not athletic. Everybody's hiding somebody. Everybody's got C's, hopefully a small number. And everybody's got an A or two. I believe when I watch Minnesota, they're built for the regular season. They have the most B's in the league. They may not have a bunch of stars, but they don't have a bunch of C's. They do everything physically at the point of attack. They're pretty much good everywhere. But I don't think that wins in the postseason. So I like them yesterday in Atlanta. Atlanta's got more A's, more C's. I think Minnesota's eventually going to hit a ceiling in the playoffs.
Okay, so this has been the debate for the last 4 weeks. How come Mike Zimmer won't come out and just fully endorse Case Keenum? How come he won't say, Case Keenum is my guy, he's going to lead us through? Because as you say, Mike Zimmer looks at the tape every day. Mike Zimmer knows exactly who Case Keenum is. Mike Zimmer is looking at it from, if I'm playing defense against our quarterback, what are the problem spots? His hesitation likely comes from he knows that his guy is a BC player who is playing above his level. When is he going to come back to earth? How do we play this game where we can mask him and minimize his impact on the game while still trying to win games the best way that we see fit? You're right in terms of their roster. When I look at their roster, they don't have a lot of C players on either side of the ball. They have an outstanding defense, and their defense is good enough to win it. So in a game where they win, was it 14-12, 14-9, or whatever it was yesterday, their defense can keep it together. And as long as that defense shows up, they can win games. The X factor is going to be when they get into the playoffs, Case Keenum versus the other quarterback. Is it Case Keenum versus Aaron Rodgers? Who is the guy that Case Keenum has to outduel in a playoff game? Can he get him a win? That is the thing that you want to look for. Regular season ball is one thing, but in the postseason, that's when your quarterbacks have to step up and make plays. You cannot hide the quarterback in the postseason.
Let's look at the NFC playoff picture, Sammy. Listen, it feels like there's some certainties, I know. Despite what happened to Philadelphia, they're going to win their division. And you start looking at this NFC, and you get a bunch of teams battling at the bottom. You get not bottom. I mean, they're still good. You got Seattle, and you got New Orleans, you got Carolina, you got Dallas and Green Bay. A lot of people could feel this morning Dallas is out of it. They get Sean Lee back against the Giants. So let's just look at the board. So I think we both agree Minnesota's in, Philly's in. I think the Rams are too consistent. They don't have many bad quarters. I think they're a playoff team. I'm going to give them a playoff. And I think the Saints, similarly, I just think they're really darn consistent. I get the same pass rush, the same good corners. So now, there are 4 teams I know. 2 more are going to make it. So if I give you Seattle, Carolina, Atlanta, Detroit, Green Bay, Dallas. Now, it's easy this morning to say Seattle and Carolina. Is there absolutely a team in that group that doesn't feel like a playoff team to you and one that absolutely does?
I'll spin that question this way. I will say that when you're looking at teams and you're in the playoff hunt and you're one of those teams in the bottom and you're trying to figure out who you don't want to play, the 2 teams that you don't want to play are the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. The reason why you don't want to play the Green Bay Packers, we have seen Aaron Rodgers do it as a one-man show. We know that if he gets in the tournament, he can single-handedly get the Green Bay Packers to the championship game. That is why if you have an opportunity to knock the Green Bay Packers out the next 4 weeks,
do it.
You need to knock them out because if number 12 comes back, it's going to be a problem. We saw it last year. The Dallas Cowboys are also a team. We saw the other night they kind of found their mojo a little bit in terms of running the ball. The defense can play from ahead. Dak Prescott, if he's playing in the right role, can be successful. The best thing that I think happened Thursday night for the Cowboys when Dak Prescott hurt his hand. Because what it made Scott Linehan do, you got to run the football. They have not been committed to running the ball. So now that they discovered, that's how we win games. When 21 comes back, when Ezekiel Elliott comes back, they change. So the teams that I'm most fearful of and facing in the playoffs, the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. The Seattle Seahawks are always a dangerous team because that defense can get it done. I just don't know how long Russell can continue to be the whirlwind that he's been all season.
Yeah, I just can't. No, I love Russell Wilson. There is a point when you can't be 94% of your offense. Like
it's hard.
Do you think? Okay, now let's go to that game. You watch Carson Wentz. Do you think anything now when you put Russell and Wentz on the same field? We said this a week before about Dak and Wentz. You're like, oh, Wentz is way better than Dak. So now, last night there were 2 plays, we can show these, where Wentz had touchdowns and missed them. Do you think less of Carson Wentz this morning in that environment? Now, he wasn't as good.
I don't think anything less of him, but I do believe everything is he's having to learn how to play at different speeds. When I first got into the league, veterans would tell you there are 4 different speeds. There's preseason speed, there's regular season, there's postseason, then there's Super Bowl. So what he's having to get used to is Seattle treated that like a playoff game. There was a sense of urgency that came with that game. You saw the way their defense played, the way they flew around, the physicality and toughness. Carson Wentz has to adjust to the game speeding up even quicker than he's seen to this time. He will continue to get better as he plays in these meaningful games, but there's a learning curve. So when we get into the postseason and you're the Philadelphia Eagles, depending on who the veteran quarterback is on the other side, we could see him overwhelmed by the veteran quarterback because the quarterback has been there and done that. Those guys who get a Russell Wilson, a Drew Brees, even a Cam Newton, because they played a number of playoff games, you learn what the tempo and speed and the urgency is like. It'll be his first time. We'll see how he plays in that environment.
Former scout, writer, analyst, and player in the NFL, my friend Bucky Brooks. All right, Ben McAdoo gets fired. I like the fact the Giants now have the number 2 pick in the draft. I think it's all working out perfectly. Eli is going to play again in this league. I'm not sure if it's with the Giants. He will this weekend, or he goes to Jacksonville. But when you look at that breaking story today, to me it's real simple. They went and bought a defense, but Jerry Reese just didn't draft well enough over the last 6 drafts. He just didn't. And Eli didn't play well enough in the last 6 drafts. And McAdoo didn't coach well enough. I think it's a house cleaning. If you own the Giants, or if you have sources, who's going to run that franchise? I'll say this again, Bucky. I'd call Nick Saban. I'd call him. By the way, if I'd call him and I'd say, general manager, who's going to know SEC talent better than Nick Saban? I'd give him the general manager job and a slice of the organization. Forget coaching.
I mean, that's a lot. You give him a lot. It just depends on if he wants to come back. Obviously, I'm a big Nick Saban fan. I think he does it the right way. Obviously, he's built a monster down in Alabama. He would, if he had time and had the right quarterback in Miami, he would win. He understands how to get it done. I just don't know if you can get him from Alabama to New York to deal with all the other things that come with being in charge of the program in New York, the media, the fans, the expectations, all that other stuff. I just don't know if he wants to do that. But I do believe it is a prime job because it's a stable organization. Typically, they give their coaches and their general managers plenty of opportunity to win, and that's all you can ask for when you are in those top seats. I think the big thing that went awry in New York with Ben McAdoo is when you are a head coach, you have to have a presence. You have to have a presence about yourself where in the locker room, no matter what, the players believe that you have the answers to get us out whatever situation that we're in. I don't get the sense that he necessarily had that. And I think that's the danger sometimes when we say the hot head coaching candidate is the hot coordinator. Completely different job description. The head coach has to lead the entire team. It's not about X's and O's. It's about finding a way to get the Jimmies and Joes to play the best. They have to manage situations. They really have to be a CEO. And I just don't think Ben McAdoo had those qualities or characteristics to do that. I also believe that ultimately this was a plan that went awry, and he is the fall guy. The owner doesn't like the fan reaction that came out of the Eli Manning situation. If this had been a better thought-out plan, it was a well-thought-out plan where they 4 weeks ago said, at some point we want to get Davis Webb in. The reason why Davis Webb couldn't start last week, Davis Webb was the number 3 quarterback. In pro systems, the only guys who gets reps during the week, the number 1 quarterback gets 85 to 90% of the reps. The number 2 gets the remaining. The number 3 quarterback is running scout team. Davis Webb has not been with the group of guys that he would play with since the preseason. So if they were going to make this move 3 or 4 weeks ago, they should have shifted Geno Smith and Davis Webb. Make Davis Webb the number 2. That way he would have started to get some reps. Then when you're ready to pull the plug on Eli, he would have been better prepared. Look at what the 49ers did with Jimmy Garoppolo and C.J. Beathard. He was the backup for a couple weeks. He got practice time for 3 or 4 weeks. When he gets his chance,
he was good.
Wow, Jimmy Garoppolo looks good. Yeah, because he had time to work in it. That's why the patient worked out.
Did you like Garoppolo yesterday?
Oh, I loved it. I think the 49ers are in a nice situation with him as the quarterback.
So do I. Hey, Goulet, you're a San Francisco guy. Did you watch that game at all?